Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, back with a couple more birthday cards using some of the pretty pink Posh products that were released this month for their 9th birthday release. I did a video the other day making more like jewel toned birthday cards, super fun. And I was talking about these stencils because I used the like cake layering stencil set. And then this time I'm using the layered ice cream cones and layered party hat stencils. And I just love them. They're so fun. So I pulled out some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. I've said this in other videos. There is something magical about Distress Oxide inks on top of Neenah Desert Storm. Chef's kiss, man. I loves it. So I've kind of figured out this little system here that I got working for me. I showed this in the other video, and I'll have a link to that at the end if you missed it. But with specifically these layering stencils and how I like to do my cards, because I like to, put something on the inside. My little setup includes the Simon Says Stamp glass mat. Do you need that? No? I like it. And it helps me kind of keep things a little more contained. So I've got that. I have my card front, which is the Desert Storm cardstock. And then I have my card base, which is a top folding A2 white note card. And I have it open. I have some Post-it tape at the score line there. And I ink up the stencil first over the Desert Storm or my card front, either one. And then without re-inking anything, I move it over to the inside of the card and then just use what's left over on my brush and the stencil. So I get a lighter image, which in this case works really well because it's white cardstock. And then I'm getting just a lighter impression, as it were, on the inside of the card with not much extra effort. So I'm doing that. The one thing I'll say here, I wasn't thinking when I did the ice cream tops and I went in like full strength on the Desert Storm. I shouldn't have done that. Because like with the ice cream cones, I did the base and I used just a light hand and I used Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink. And then the detail layer, I just went in with the same color, but I went in heavier, like full strength. And that's how I got the detail. And then with the ice cream tops, my brain just stopped and I was just going because I was like, look at these rainbow colors. But because I'm going in full strength, it's going to make it very difficult to add the next layer. But I worked around it because I didn't realize it until I go to add the sprinkles layer. And I was like, oh. But anyway, rainbow colors. My kind of go-to of rainbow which is mustard seed, carved pumpkin, picked raspberry, mermaid lagoon, and wilted violet. And like I always do, I start with the yellow. It's the easiest way to go. And it just keeps the chance of my yellow getting super contaminated. So this is where I discovered, I was like, crap. You're not going to be able to see the sprinkles because I did the full strength of ink for the ice cream. I was like, oh no, what am I to do? Because I'm not redoing this, and besides, it's so pretty. So I put the stencil onto the inside of the card. And I used a lighter hand and added the sprinkles in the same order, rainbow order, with my blending brushes. So the inside of the card still has its thing. And I was like, as I'm doing this, I was thinking, like, kind of mentally taking stock of like the different pastes I have, because I've got a lot. I was like, I could use just regular embossing paste. And like I could use glitter paste. That would look amazing. Just started thinking. And then of course my brain too, I was like, I could custom blend several colors. And then I was like, no, that's going to be just getting a little bit ridiculous here. Although it would look amazing, and I've done that in other videos, making my own little custom blends and things like that. But I had more than one card that I wanted to make and I wanted to just make this work. So I finished the inside. I'm just putting the stencil on top. I am going to say this is where things get a little mucky, but I was having fun with it. I pulled out some Nouveau Glacier paste. This is Winter White Glacier paste. I've done many videos. I have an entire playlist with, I think, over a dozen videos using Glacier paste. Love this stuff. I haven't used it in forever. Also of note, I keep press and seal, especially on these pastes. All my jars of Glacier paste that I have purchased since they were first released, however many years ago, I'm not sure how many years it's been, not a single one has dried out. Like, press and seal for the win, man. I will have a link to it because Simon Says Stamp does carry it because they can ship it internationally, because a lot of international people have a hard time finding this. For us in like North America, you can get it at the grocery store. So and keep it sealed. This is what I'm talking about. It gets mucky. The glacier paste is like picking up every little bit of ink and it's turning into a muddy mess. Oh, I don't care. In the end, you don't even notice. It doesn't matter, because glacier paste has, you know, the mica flakes in it, and it's like almost like a faux foiled look. I've done that in videos with these pastes. It is shiny and beautiful, and I love it. So I got my sprinkles and I was like, and they're shiny, like win. So on the next card front, like the next set, I learned my lesson. Paid a little more attention. This is the layered party hats. Like they're so bloody cute. I love it. So I'm doing the exact same thing, except this time with the base of the party hats, I'm using a lighter hand and not going in full strength with the ink so that I can add the detail. However, and I will add some paste with the very last stencil. Although you could do it with these two. You could do like layer the base and then the next stencil has the detail. You could do like glitter paste, glacier paste, etc. And that would look adorable as well. And you would just let it dry and then go in to add the last little bits. But I just went in with inks, doing the same thing, you know, working my way back and forth. I'm just using, I have like a roll of PIXIE tape, and I just use a piece to hold kind of the stencil down to my glass mat as I'm just moving it, you know, back and forth, and everything's working. I'm also not worrying too much about getting everything lined up like perfectly perfect, because like they're so cute. I'm of course going to add some splatter, you know, so any little like mistakes I make, So I've got the party hats, the detail, and then there's the little, you know, like pom-pommy type toppers for them. And same thing, I'm just doing the same colors, you know, back and forth, doing the mustard seed, the carved pumpkin, the picked raspberry, the mowed lawn. Can't remember if I'd mentioned that one earlier. Yeah, mowed lawn, mermaid lagoon, wilted violet. Love. Just love. These colors make me happy. How they look on white, they're so bright and cheerful, but how they look on craft is just, I don't know. The way these inks sit on craft cardstock just makes me happy. So once I got the little toppers done, there's a final little stencil that has little stars. Super, super, super cute. Just, these stencils are the best. I'm having so much fun with them. So I did the same thing with this one that I did with the last one. This time, though, it was intentional. I went in with purpose. So just very lay a hand. You know, I didn't, and actually with that, I didn't re-ink like my brushes or anything. I just grabbed the brushes and rubbed them over the stencil on the inside of the card, and it was great. This time I attempted to kind of keep the paste separate. You know, I applied them around kind of each color, and then I used my big stencil. That it didn't help. It didn't help. Just slap it on. You know, it's good. In the end, like they're shiny and shimmery, and you know they pick up some color, and it's fine. Like I'm not. Yeah. I futzed around with it for a little bit here, but meh. Once I peeled off the stencil, though, it's like, ooh, I've got little shiny stars. It's good. I also wanted to show this. This is my Boone Stash little drying rack. Boone countertop drying rack. Again, must-have item. Simon sells these as well because, again, international people, etc. I have actually had one of these for a literal decade. I still have it. I keep it beside my kitchen sink. I used to use it. It's intended for like baby bottles, that kind of stuff. I still use it for like all our reusable straws when I wash them. I stick them in there to hold them upright, to get them to dry, yada, yada, yada. But I have that other one that I keep in my craft space for all my stencils and tools, because after I've cleaned them, especially like layering sets like this, I had 8 stencils. It's like, where are you going to put them all? Stick them in there along with my tools, set it aside to dry. Life is great. So anywho, those were drying. I put my backgrounds into my splat box, added some splatter, like I said, because you just gotta. This time I used Amsterdam liquid white, just because it's what I grabbed. Any white craft paint, etc. would work. So splattered those backgrounds, set them aside. And then the next super fun part, you are now watching through my hot foil cam. I'm like turning into Kathy Zielski and having like, you know, separate cameras, aka just my phone. haven't figured out a setup to do like the die cut cam yet, or she called it the Gemini cam, you know. Who knows, maybe I'll eventually get that figured out too. But hot foiling, I'm using the Pretty Pink Posh Celebrate large Celebrate script hot foil plate and some Spellbinders. Is it mini rainbow? Yeah, mini rainbow stripe hot foil. I purchased this forever ago, and you know I've been hoarding it because haven't come across the right project to use it for. And I was like, oh yes, this is so perfect for these cards. So what has been working really, really well for me is taping the foil to the cardstock so it just holds it taut. And then I tape my little foil plate in place. So everything's just held in place. Stick it on the glimmer machine, which had already been heated up. Press the timer, let the timer run until it went solid. And then I slowly run it through my Platinum 6 machine. And then I peel this off, and like, my life has meaning and purpose now. It was so perfect. Like the size of this sentiment and then this rainbow hot foil, and when it foiled perfectly, oh, love. This time I'm using the Hammer cardstock that it does foil beautifully. Simon's smooth white cardstock I use a lot. Any really smooth cardstock, especially, and glossy cardstocks, those sorts of ones, foil beautifully. But I've shown in other videos, I can generally make it work on almost any cardstock within reason. But for the best, most perfect results, the smoother the cardstock, the better. So I just went with Hammer Mill today, and it did work perfectly. And I got these gorgeous rainbow foiled sentiments that just make me happy. So I die cut them with the separate outline wafer die and sentiment, and those I had actually used in the other birthday video. So I used the outline to die cut this, and I also die cut scraps of white cardstock with that same outline. Stack those together with craft tacky glue because it just gives it that bit of dimension that I love. Although this is the size of a sentiment that you could also use like little like foam strips, etc., because it's not super finicky, you know, like some sentiments are, but it's just quick and easy to stack, and it uses up some of my cardstock scraps. So stack those together, 2 layers of white cardstock, and then topped it with the hot foil. And then for my sentiments, I am using the birthday sentiments set, and there's a sentiment in there that says it's time to celebrate. I cut them apart. You could totally just mask off the celebrate word. The way these are positioned, it is super easy. But since I wanted to stamp it twice and I just wasn't in the mood to mask, so I just cut them apart. Next time I go to use this, if I want to use them together, you just butt them back up together on, you know, your misty lid or an acrylic block, and it'll be fine. So I trimmed them apart because I just wanted the first part of it anyway. And then I grabbed a scrap of black cardstock, put it in my mini misty, and I used my anti-static powder tool. And then I stamped the sentiment with clear embossing ink, and then just shifted the cardstock up, did the same thing. I'm going to coat this with some detail white embossing powder, melt that with my heat tool, and then off camera I'm going to die cut them with one of the sentiment label wafer dies from Simon. So after I set those aside, while I had the mini misty out and everything, I put the insides of my cards into here, and then I took another sentiment from that same stamp set, line that up, and that I'm going to stamp with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I'm going to ink it up and stamp it twice just to make sure I get a good crisp impression, because these backgrounds are a bit busy, but they're fun. And yes, I do write over this. I've had people ask that, especially when I do like full stenciled insides of cards. That's why I do the lighter version on the insides. I will write over this with a ballpoint pen, specifically like a good like gel type pen also. Yeah, I just write over it. Black pen works great. So I die cut the little companion sentiments. So, and I trimmed down those backgrounds to just be slightly smaller. I think I trimmed them down to roughly like 4 inches by 5 1/4, something like that. And then I adhered the Celebrate hot foil with the craft tacky glue again. I used my little T-square ruler to make sure I got them straight, since these are like very obvious, you know, you want to make sure they're straight. Got those adhered, and then adhered the little companion so it says it's time to celebrate. So got those adhered into place. Once those are adhered, I can then close up my card bases, you know, reinforce the fold like I always do. So I get those closed up, and then I can adhere these to the card bases again with craft tacky glue. So just a thin amount of glue. It always looks on video like I'm using way more glue than I actually am. Thin. You don't need a lot. Liquid adhesive holds good. And I do use thicker cardstocks. If you find you're seeing like your glue lines or your cardstocks are curling, if you're using lighter weight, go even easier on the glue. Lighter weight cardstocks cannot handle liquid adhesive very well. They'll curl and bend and all that kind of stuff. So just try to use even less, because you don't need much with liquid adhesive. But anywho, once that was done, these cards were complete. and they're so shiny, and we've got the little like glacier paste elements with those stencils as well, and they're rainbow and splattered. They just make me happy. So I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have a supply list. I'll link to all the supplies I used. I will have a link to that previous video I did using some of the other Pretty Pink Posh goodies that were released. And I will also have a link to that playlist with all the other videos I've done over the years with the glacier paste. So all that will be linked at the end of this video, as well as linked directly below the video. So blog posts, supplies are below, playlist, other videos at the end. Thank you all so very much for watching, for thumbs upping, for commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd very much appreciate it. And I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.